everybody. We're here with Danny Perez. Welcome to Beyond the Veil Horror Podcast, Danny.
Hey, everybody.
Danny Perez has actually just made a new movie by the name of Antibirth, and we're going to be talking with him today. So how you doing today, man?
I'm good. It's just enjoying a rare cloudy day in Southern California, so I'm good. I'm about to go camping for the weekend, so that's nice. I'm just getting all my ducks in a row before I leave town for the night,
cool.
or 2 night rather. But I'm good. I can't complain.
Nice, man. Well, I mean, I guess let's just start off. Let's tell us a little bit about what you do.
It's taken me a long time to call myself a director, just because I feel like, especially living in Los Angeles, you meet people all the time that call themselves producers and directors, and they're just not, or don't really have that experience, or just like super, can be really pretentious about it. So I've unfortunately finally reached a point in my life where I feel comfortable calling myself a director, but the bulk of my background was more as a visual artist and kind of doing more experimental, like weird video art type pieces for for certain music groups. So, I definitely am trying to work in a more narrative format, which is what Antibirth kind of represents. But my background is a little more just in the visual art. So I feel like that's kind of where the visual sensibility comes from.
Which is pretty awesome. I mean, we both really appreciated your visual aesthetic and in your work. I did watch a little bit of Oddsack, but I wanted to ask you actually, where do you hail from? Like, were you born and raised?
I'm originally from Northern Virginia, like just outside of Washington D.C. My parents are both, so I'm fully an East Coaster, and I went to school in New York and then lived in Philadelphia for a long time after New York, and then came out to Los Angeles about 6 years ago. So I'm very much an East Coaster.
Me too, man. I'm actually from Frederick, Maryland, so I'm not too far from you. But I can tell that you're East Coast just because of your personality, I guess. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's different from the West Coast.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I like California a lot too. I think it's a great part of the country, but there's definitely an inherent difference as far as when you meet people that are born on either coast.
Right. No, I agree with you, man. It's like when you go into a store on the East Coast, people are like, get your stuff and get out for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're here, they want to talk to you.
They take for fucking ever, man. They take forever out here. It's like getting a coffee sometimes will take like 10 minutes, whereas if you were in New York or even Baltimore, you would have been halfway home by the time you get out of the fucking store here. Like, definitely it's taking me some getting used to. Like, it's just a little bit slower out here.
Well, so let me ask you this. I mean, I know that you just mentioned that you did a lot of visual work with doing visuals with some bands, actually. And I know that you worked really closely with the Black Dice and the Animal Collective, doing visuals and touring with them actually for years even. So can you tell us a little bit how that came about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, I was in New York going to film school, in the early 2000s. Or I graduated in 2002, rather, and I just become friends with those guys through the music scene there, and basically wanted to do something kind of more physical and immediate with the format as far as video and film, and it being kind of a two-dimensional medium. So, kind of doing the 21st century version of like a liquid light show as far as these abstract projections and kind of mixing live to the music as like literally like using a video mixer, so you're kind of doing edits live was really fun for me, and just kind of brought just a more physical sensibility to it. Also, you're in a club or a gallery or a museum, and the sound is all around you, and it's really loud. It just kind of was a really fun for me, and at the same time, I was kind of just stealing clips or random heads exploding from random cult movies and gore movies, and kind of looping them and editing them and collaging them with other, layers and videos. So that definitely, I think, affected my sense of composition and kind of like how I shoot now and like what I'm looking for in the frame and so forth. So it was definitely like it was a fun, I did that for a long time, like over almost 10 years. So it was just like a different kind of education as far as using the medium and I would literally go to clubs and hang up the screen and be climbing on ladders to
Nice.
hang the projector. And so I really definitely got a pretty intense perspective on just composition in the frame, like what ends up there, because I would toil for like weeks before a tour making these fucked up images, and then we'd get to a club and half of the band's amplifiers cut off like the bottom 2/3 of the frame, and all you're seeing is like the eyeballs of the person. So and that would make me appreciate the imagery in a different way. So just constantly kind of mutating and trying to like rip stuff apart and look at it differently.
Nice. When you hooked up with the Black Dice and everything, you said you went on tour with them for several years, actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you guys became friends, obviously, because there's no way you can go on a tour.
Yeah, I mean, you literally, you live with these guys. You're in a van. You're in a different city every night. So you definitely get real close and get to know each other very well. But it's a super fun experience to have in your 20s and see the world that way. But yeah, definitely we played everywhere from just kind of rock clubs to museums to squats to bars to just everywhere. And
dive
when
bars,
I toured
even,
that,
probably.
oh yeah, I mean full circle, full everything from just movie stars in your backstage room to homeless people pissing on your van outside. Like just ran the gamut. But yeah, it was a good experience to have.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, it's obvious that you're a pretty big fan of music and movies. Is there any particular genre that you kind of rotate towards and that like you feel is you?
I mean, I definitely prefer more like abrasive kind of heavy electronic music, but I also know that that's not it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, or it's just not sonically what most people are comfortable with.
Right.
So, if I had my druthers, I would, do a whole movie that was just like an assault and made you feel like you were at a concert. But I think it's you do have to kind of finesse it a little more for the narrative format and doing it in movies. And, I don't know if I'm completely successful at transitioning it, or rather making it more palatable
right.
in Antibirth, because there's definitely there's always music, there's always a sound design or a score element in the movie, and I definitely put a lot of work into that. And I just want hopefully people can kind of zone out and trip out on it. I feel like
totally.
Watching, I think it gives a lot. There's a lot going on in the sound.
You definitely, I mean, the music and the mood and everything is definitely there. And I think we both really enjoyed that a whole lot.
Awesome. I'm glad. And I put a lot of work into getting all those songs and kind of pulling a lot of favors, and definitely had to fight as far as dealing with the budget and the producers not wanting to pay for certain things
right.
at times. So it was, definitely.
It looked like you had quite a lot of producers attached. So.
Yeah, man, I'm more producers than cats. It's fucking crazy. That just goes to show. And literally, most of the people I've never met, like they're just,
right.
People that come on and give you X amount of dollars and they want their name in the credits. But it's kind of crazy. I mean, it just goes to show you unfortunately, what it takes to get a movie like this made. I mean, forget like an indie horror movie. Like those get made, there's 10 indie horror movies being shot literally right now, probably in Los Angeles. But to get an indie horror movie, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, I'm saying this like as a fan, like as a viewer, but like that's, for lack of a better word, really fucking weird, is really hard. Like it's,
right.
It's not a traditional movie. It doesn't necessarily have like traditional scares or even jump scares. So it was, that I say that because like that long list of producers is unfortunately indicative of like all the hoops and the weird kind of handshakes you have to do to get a movie like this made.
Oh yeah, Oddsick was your first movie, right?
The first. Yeah, but it's like it's the first like the longest format thing I've done. It's like an hour long, but most people in this industry, or rather the film industry, they don't even regard that as anything. They're like, that's not a film. That's not. We don't know if we can give you a budget. So I essentially had to scrap and kind of pull this project together for years. And mind you, not the biggest budget I'd ever had, and certainly a step up. But I had to, essentially prove myself with this one. And I think in some ways I have, some ways I haven't, as far as transitioning.
That helped you actually get funding for this project, right? I'm assuming to some degree.
No, fuck, I'm not saying the opposite. Like, it didn't help me at all. Like, it didn't. Like, people saw, like, what I regarded as a movie, and, I traveled all over the world with it, and I went to Sundance with it, so I had that validation, and I was going to big film festivals, the weekly paper in Philadelphia put me on the cover for, like, and did an interview with me. I come out to LA, and they're like, you can barely get a job at Starbucks. Who gives a fuck if you've been to Sundance? Like, they literally, they're just like, yeah, so what? You did a fucking 50-minute movie that I can't watch because I'm not stoned? Like, they don't care.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, Antibirth.
I mean, I love it, and it has fans, and people, I get emails periodically from kids all over the world. They're like, I watched Hot Sack, and it changed the way I looked at movies, and now I want to make movies like you.
Under the influence, maybe, too.
Yeah.
Cool. Just give out pot with every movie, or fucking mushrooms, or whatever.
But yeah, man, I mean, as far as Antibirth, I mean, you came out swinging with that. I mean, it really looks like you've been doing this a long time. And
yeah, dude.
We were both very impressed by that.
Aesthetically, it's amazing. I mean, what you did visually.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I definitely have. I've worked as a crew person a lot on sets. I did a lot of art department stuff, just for money, as far as working on various commercials and films. And not that I ever really got to do anything terribly interesting production design wise, but I've definitely had a lot of time, I think, on set just as a crew person, and that's kind of something maybe a lot of young directors don't have that experience that kind of allows them to be empathetic to the crew that they're working with and kind of navigate the situation. But yeah, I mean, I thank you, and I appreciate it. But yeah.
I mean, we're not just trying to milk you here and butter you up, but honestly, we really feel that way.
I'll take it. But there's definitely some young first filmmaker kind of syndromes happening in the film too. I think that now I can look at it and be like, oh, I should have done that, or oh, I could have tried this better.
Right.
So it's
well, you're always your worst critic on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's how you learn, and you move on. You make even better film and music or whatever you're into. So
I'm really curious. How'd you get hooked up with the principals you used in the film?
Natasha and Chloe, I actually knew through kind of like the music world in New York, and they were fans of some of the people I was working with, would be at shows and so forth. And then Natasha started dating a good friend of mine, and this was years and years ago, and he introduced us, and she was a fan of some of my music videos and just the work I was doing. And yeah, basically before she'd even kind of started this resurgence via Orange is the New Black, I was writing stuff for her, and two other scripts that are even crazier that will probably never get made, that where she's the lead. And finally kind of wrote this for her, and then she mentioned that Chloe was willing and wanted to do something with us as well. So then I naturally just kind of wrote her into the script. So
awesome.
I was super lucky to have them on my side, and to their credit, they stuck with the project for a long time. Like, it took a good 5 years from when I showed them the scripts to when we were actually on set. So most actors within that time frame probably would have bailed or said, you know what, sorry, I can't do this. But they stuck with it the whole time.
That's really cool. It seems like they were very passionate about it. So that's really awesome to hear.
No, yeah, I'm super lucky in that regard. Like, there's many people in this town, all over the country, are super talented, like, directors and writers that I'm not, like, they don't have Natasha Leone and Chloe Sevigny, like, as their friends, are willing to do their movie. So I definitely am grateful for that. At the same time, I made a really fucked up weird movie, so I kind of blew it. But
I don't think that's too bad, though. I think it stood out a little bit from the others. I definitely.
Yeah, no. I mean, these are the kinds of movies that I like, and these are the kind of films that I would, gravitate towards when I was younger, and like watching movies with my friends in the parents' basement. So I appreciate that kind of that cinematic landscape of just like these weirdo kind of midnight movies.
Just so our listeners can really understand the movie Antibirth that we're talking about, can you give us a little information about?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say the short log line is basically this woman who's a kind of a slacker and a real, just a crass kind of drug addict, basically gets pregnant and doesn't remember how she got pregnant and has to kind of figure out what the hell happened to her in this very isolated, kind of dreary town that's populated by misfits and outcasts and ex-military degenerates. So it's basically kind of like we go down the wormhole of insanity, and I kind of throw in a lot of references to various military conspiracies and kind of governmental eugenics and kind of tampering with the population. And, overall, I definitely tried to interject some social commentary into it as far as, America's relationship with consumerism and consumption, as far as, turning ourselves into products with these poisonous things we're constantly imbibing. But overall, I also just wanted to make something really fun and hyper visual and kind of just kinetic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where did the idea from the project come from?
I can't really say it came from any one place. It was definitely like a combination of a couple different influences, or just seeds rather. And one being, I knew I had Natasha. I knew I wanted to write a lead role for her and something that would play to her strengths. I also knew I wanted to do something with the UFO conspiracies and, abduction theories and so forth. Then I also knew I wanted to do something in a desert landscape. Like originally the film was written to take place in Joshua Tree, like 29 Palms, which is the desert. So I knew I had those two things. And then ultimately I knew I wanted to do something to kind of like subvert the female archetype in movies and female characters. And, if there's one sacred cow in our culture, our society, it's definitely a female pregnancy and, regarding the pregnant woman as this, sacred vessel. So I definitely wanted to kind of give a little fuck you to that. Yeah, it was, so in that regard, I kind of just like combined all those things. I'm a fan of body horror movies as far as their use of practical effects.
Yeah, we really got that vibe, definitely. And I mean, I got to ask, are you a Cronenberg fan?
Yeah, totally. I like Cronenberg a lot. I'm certainly a big fan of some of his films. I'm not, a purist about him or a huge fan. Like, I do feel like there's always like 85% of the movies there, or 70 is there, and there's always like something lacking in the climax or in the resolution, or they're never completely like totally gel for me. I mean, I will say like his version of The Fly is probably one of the best, like mainstream, like studio, like horror movies, like beginning to end. It's great.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's probably
has
one of the
everything.
best remakes.
Yeah, totally. Like it's great. But there's some are better than others. Like I like The Brood a lot. I think The Brood is one of my favorite of his. But yeah, just like his use of effects and just the idea of kind of insanity and modern anxieties and evils physically manifesting on our bodies is a really interesting visual device to me. So I think that's kind of why I respond to it. But yeah, I think, that's, and like, no doubt, like the scene with Natasha, like pulling her skin off,
right,
and pulling her teeth off for the mirror, like that's straight out of the fucking Fly. Like that's, but at the same time, I intercut it with this kind of, 70s mystic, like Father Yod type guy. So it gives it a little bit of like a different flavor. And that to me, even that scene alone to me, I guess, is an example of my attempt to make something new by combining disparate but known elements. Meaning we have this lady in front of the mirror, she's pulling her skin off. We've seen this one before in various transformation movies and werewolf films. But you do that with a woman, and you make it really grimy, and you add some texture to the glass, and then you cross-cut that with a very colorful, kind of saccharine, kind of psychedelic image, and it gives, a slightly different tone or a duality to it. And I feel like you see that a lot throughout the movie, as far as me trying to just like, whether it's the birthday scene with the kids, with these kind of strange furry guys behind them.
What I'm curious about your writing process. I mean, if you wrote the film, I mean, do you write in the morning? Do you write at night? Do you do coffee?
I kind of, I definitely do coffee. I definitely, I'm sorry, did you say coffee?
Well, yeah, I'm saying, because I know, I mean, some dudes do whiskey, but some dudes do coffee. So I'm just curious,
In regards to writing, I'm not a big drinker. I do smoke a bit of the marijuana, the pot. I find
so you're human.
Very. I know you would never tell from my movie. So I tend to write in the morning. I like to write late at night. I'm kind of a strange Rocky Erickson syndrome in that I like to have like the TV on mute with music playing, and then I'll have a YouTube video playing at the same time another computer. So I'm definitely a fan of multiple stimulation kind of
wow.
at all times. So that might, and I feel like you kind of see that in the movie to a degree, as far as like there's always like some kind of visual device or something in the background, or there's always a transition being like built into as far as getting into the next scene. Like I'm a little hyperactive in that regard.
I think we're all a little ADD. I was like, when I was a child, I think I was diagnosed like way early on, and they put me on medication that made me not want to talk. So it was a fun time.
It's weird. I just read this kind of cool article about this dad whose son was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he had gone on all these medications that made him balloon up to like really obese weights, and then he basically did a bit of research and went to the rainforest and discovered that he basically feels like his son is a shaman, whereas like in Western cultures you're a fucking madman, but in the rainforest you're a fucking shaman and you're regarded as a spiritual kind of person that can tie in, so it's, it depends what what label you put on it,
Yeah, I don't know. I think they misdiagnosed me a little bit. Maybe I just had issues, but yeah, man, you never know. It's just
I think everyone's really quick. At least, I don't have any kids myself, but it seems like parents are really quick to diagnose their kids with shit these days and fucking give them pills. And it's just like, dude, kids just want to run around and be assholes. Like that's what they do. Like, they're supposed to say dumb shit and annoy you and get into trouble and learn from their mistakes. Like that's what being a kid is. Why do you want to, punish them or numb them with some fucking medication?
right.
It's like, oh, you don't like the fact that they watch too much TV? Well, give them something to do. Fucking.
Well, now it
roll them
seems
in a
like
class,
kids are kind of like, they're like, here's a computer, just leave me alone. Here's some video games, please just go away.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, it's gonna be interesting. I think when we were like old grandfatherly men to see like the 2 or 3 generations from now, all the different
Right.
kind of social behaviors that are going to evolve out of this kind of like lack of social interaction.
Right.
Is everyone going to be like socially retarded or really mean to each other? Or, I think it's definitely going to have some effects, but it might take a while to, permeate into the culture.
We'll have old man syndrome by then, I think.
I fear that I already do, unfortunately.
I'm right there with you, man. Well, I wanted to ask you, you did mention a lot about the practical effects and stuff in that movie, and I know that you worked, is it David Scott, I believe, that you worked with directly on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he's done a lot of work on like Dawn of the Dead, Jack Brooks, Monster Slayer, the Slasher TV show and stuff. How's it like working with him?
He's great. It's unfortunately such a rare opportunity that you get to work with a practical like creature effects guy,
right.
or B, that you even get to use them for a lot. Like usually it's like, okay, we have one head coming up and we're gonna bring you in, but he was, he really did a lot in the movie. He is the monster at the end. Like
is he really? Okay.
Yeah, and he did the performance, and it's funny that you mentioned the Monster Slayer movie, because it just shows what a nerd I am. Like when I looked at his IMDb, I was like, I brought up that movie, but specifically like the paint jobs. Like I remember
when I saw.
Really? Yeah, like I remember when I saw that movie, I was like, I really liked the way you painted this one creature, and I really appreciate like the speckles and the way you kind of shaded it. It was like really unique. And he was just like, wait, you're talking about like some fucking paint job I did like 20 years ago or some shit. But so he's great. He does really quality work. And he actually, the bulk of his team was made up of women. And it was really nice to have just like a different kind of energy on set versus, not that I've worked with all kinds of people, but usually when you work with monster guys, they're like covered in Evil Dead tattoos and like some shitty metal shirt and just like, there's a type. So it was interesting to like just have a different kind of presence on set, especially with the more like grisly material.
You wouldn't expect it from him.
Yeah, but he's great, and definitely an asset to the city of Toronto as far as the work he does.
Yeah, I saw that you worked in Toronto. A buddy of mine said that you worked actually in Sudbury, Ontario.
Yeah, that's where we shot the movie. It's like north of Toronto.
Wow. So what was it like working up there?
It wasn't so fun. It was about as beautiful as it looks in the movie, and just it was hard just because it was so cold. So I'm from the East Coast, and I've been in an East Coast winter, but I've never been in like negative 20 degrees.
Wow.
So it was really fucking cold, and it was just a challenge as far as working with a whole new crew, especially at this kind of young indie level. I'm used to doing everything myself and working with my friends and kind of scrapping together these projects. And this was, me literally kind of getting, dropped into this situation where everybody else had worked together before. They knew each other, but I was like the new guy from LA, and I'd never made a movie before.
The young hot shot.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of, I had and I'm sympathetic to that situation. I've been on set as a crew person where I've been like talking shit about the director, kind of like, rolling my eyes at a young director or whatever. So I can definitely sympathize. So it was, I just had to mind my P's and Q's and kind of make as many allies as I could. And, I think, I was, and on one hand, it was easy because I didn't know them, and because they weren't my friends, and there wasn't this like personal or shorthand in our language. I was able to be very explicit and concrete. I was like, no, this has to be like this has to look like this, and this has to do that, as opposed to me being like, hey Jerry, do you think you can call our friend and see if he has this or that? I was able to be a little more removed from it, which is just a different exercise for me. But
I was actually curious about that because you wrote the movie as well, and I mean, are you pretty open to improv when it comes to acting and everything like that?
Yeah, totally. I'm not precious about my writing at all. And,
I mean, it would seem because of your visual aesthetics and everything, and like just the flow of things, it just feels like you would be into improv. So.
Totally. I mean, I can't take credit for the funniest line in the movie. Like Natasha improv the bit about the dual shaved vagina. Like she has a like a little improv about half her pussy being.
I was gonna say, what about the line of her coming out and talking about taking a piss?
That I think she just threw in there. I think she's in there too.
I really don't.
But yeah, I like how it's just. I think there is. Not to get too heady about it, but there is a subtle duality in that you have this very visual artifice. Like it's obviously very constructed. Like the environment is, obviously there's a lot of production design. The lighting is very stylized, but then the performances are a little more natural and a little more laid back, and you're more prone to these kind of improvised tangents, as opposed to being very campy and very stagey and very. Actors hitting marks and saying, very heightened performances, which is what you'd expect for kind of a, shitty Joel Schumacher style kind of look, I just bring that up because I was like, I always, Batman and Robin was on this morning, and I was like, Jesus Christ, just like watching. And I was like, you're right. I mean, maybe we're the same age. I'm 36.
Yeah, I'm about 39, so I'm right there.
Like I remember seeing like those Joel Schumacher Batmans when I was a kid. I was referencing this, trying to explain to someone like how something's bad. And it was like I remember seeing the first two Tim Burton movies and be like, oh, they're awesome. I love them. I've never seen like a dark Hollywood movie like this. Blah blah blah. And then you see the Joel Schumacher one, and I must have been 14, maybe 16. And within the first like 2 minutes of the movie, you just know something's off. It's a different director. It's like the lighting's a little cheesier, and then you get Chris O'Donnell. It's just like, even as a kid, before all the technicals and whatever the production side of it, that something's like just off in the kitchen, and it's kind of amazing how you can. Yeah.
Is that the Batman nipple movie, or I can't remember?
Bat nipple.
I think it was. He did two. I think he did the fucking like the Riddler one, and there's like he did the Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones one, and then there was like the Mr. Freeze with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman.
Okay,
so
okay.
So there's definitely some nipples. I don't know on which one.
Well, I mean, it's something we were curious about. I watched it on VOD, I think through Amazon or something like that.
Yeah, I did as well. Is there any plans for like a Blu-ray release or maybe DVD or something like that?
The DVD is definitely getting released. We're actually working on some extras right now for the DVD. I storyboarded the whole film, and I have storyboards that we're going to put in there, but unfortunately I put a bunch of like Jared Leto and Tom Cruise's face in the storyboards just to like I would periodically do that, just like entertain myself. Like I was doing, I storyboarded for like a year before the movie just to like keep myself busy. And there was a scene, like, basically the fun zone scene, instead of, like, those masks, it's, like, Jared Leto's face while these guys are dancing. And
that would be pretty scary at that point.
Yeah, like if they took off a Jared Leto face. So
Right.
I don't think they'll be able to use those on the DVD. So you guys will have the skinny on why certain storyboards are missing from the DVD.
That's awesome.
But yeah, just I would just do dumb shit like that to entertain myself while I was drawing. But yes, no, the DVD, IFC Midnight's going to release the DVD, I think, definitely sometime in the next couple months. I can't imagine there will be a Blu-ray, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hopefully it's out. It's doing like a small kind of theatrical run in various cities all over. Like I think it started at Tucson last week, or it's probably just finishing today.
I think
in
it did.
Tucson.
Yeah, I saw that.
So yeah, if we're just doing like, these small runs here and there, and it's doing its kind of VOD on demand thing, which is, definitely, this is all learning for me. It seems to be the new model with films like this, as far as, you're not going to get like a really big theatrical push, and
right, test market it kind of.
Yeah, they expect, the returns to kind of come back from VOD and such. But so basically it's out there, and I guess, once it hits Netflix, that's when all our lazy friends will really check it out. Well, and they're like, okay, now I'll watch it.
Well, I'm definitely picking. I definitely want to get it on Blu-ray. So hopefully, if it does well on DVD, which I'll be buying.
Yeah, I can't imagine it can't get a Blu-ray release, man. It looks so cool, the colors and the aesthetics.
Yeah, it seems like it deserves that.
I appreciate that. Who knows? We'll see. I definitely, I hope that some new audience will kind of pick up on it next month with Halloween, and people are always looking to see something new horror wise.
Right.
So I think it'll be I made this movie as a fan of all these genres and of crazy kind of movies. So for me, it's just most important that like it gets back to those people and those kids that like this kind of stuff.
Well, it's a multiple part question I want to ask you, and then we'll let you go here because we appreciate your time, man.
I like talking. It's cool.
Yeah, no, it's great talking to you, man. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is now that you've kind of broken into the scene with a narrative film, as you call it, what are some dream projects? What are you, is there anything that you have that you might be wanting to work on, or any upcoming ideas that you might want, any genres that you want to tackle?
Yeah, I definitely, working with Pee Wee Herman was a big dream of mine for a long time. But then,
Nice.
Unfortunately, they made that last Pee Wee movie, which I thought was actually great. And I actually really love that director, John Lee. I think he does amazing stuff.
Did that.
Yeah, like if anything, I've had some communications with him, and he was telling me what that process was like as far as kind of subverting or downplaying his more kind of freakier leanings, and I thought he did a really killer job with that. But for a minute, that was something I dreamed about. But I think my ideas for Pee Wee might be a little too dark and weird.
I would love to see that, by the way, because I feel like
it'd be great.
I watched the new movie and I did enjoy it,
Yeah, it was good.
but I wanted a darker Pee Wee.
I agree. But I did like it. I thought it was really successful and had a really unique, consistent tone that's not too easy to pull off. That book, Black Hole?
I think I know what you're talking about. Is it a sci-fi?
It's like
book?
It's a graphic novel. It's kind of like a body horror thing. It's amazing. It's a wonderful book that's, been bought and sold by some David Fincher, blah, 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 for years. I've been trying to make it a movie. That's definitely a big project, kind of a dream zone for me, because the story is amazing and the visuals are amazing, and I think I could really do something wonderful with it. But like I said, it's definitely a big studio property now that I don't think they're gonna let the director of Antibirth touch anytime soon. But yeah, I think I'm just right now I'm writing kind of like even a little more narrative. Like my next project, I think you'll see will still be within the kind of horror fantasy realm, but will be like a little more focused in a way. If I had my druthers, I would love to do like a John Phillips, Papa John biopic, like the guy from Mamas and Papas. That was,
Nice.
Crazy cokehead that ended up like fucking Mackenzie Phillips on their Mamas and Papas reunion tour, and the daughters are all Scientologists, and like I would love to do.
Oh, that makes for a great story.
Yeah, and just the duality of like literally the guy singing, you know, Monday, Monday, blah blah, and then literally like having Mick Jagger like fuck his daughter and he's like Soho Loft, like it's brilliant. And again, it just goes back to like duality. It's like I'm a big fan of, you know, the seedy underbelly underneath, like something that's on the surface appears very home or nice, for lack of a better word. So yeah, I mean, I think that's something that will probably be pretty consistent in the next couple of movies, as far as just trying to play with those ideas of what things are really like versus what they appear like on the surface. And you know, always, I think just like violence and these kind of gore effects are just a good a punctuation, if you will. Like I'm not necessarily. Yeah, I'm not like a gore hound or like someone that gets off on all the blood. But for me, it's like it's an expression. You know, it's like literally things have gotten this crazy that it's going to explode. Or, you know, someone's driven to violence. Like I like the heightened emotions of that, as opposed to me just being like, oh, I want to see lots of blood. No, it's more about
it's got to be a balance.
The emotional. Yeah. So you know, it's I think it took a really long time to get Antibirth made, and I'm hoping to streamline that turnaround for the next one.
Well, we're looking forward to it, man, and
thanks,
you know,
man.
we wish you the best of luck on that, because I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do. If that's your first movie, like we're ready for the ride, man. Like we want to see it go buck wild. So, but yeah, man, and it was really actually very awesome talking to you, and we really thank you very much for
sure, dude,
for doing that for us and taking your time with us. So. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate the support. You know, do me a favor to spread the word, tell people you know around Halloween time to check out the movie, and we'll definitely be in touch. I appreciate it.